Just drilling. Yeah, I don't know how many times you've heard that. Okay.
Hey.
We are live. All right, guys. So, Conservatives of Texas, Alex here, and Miss Kathy Welch. We're also doing this segment out of our Randall County precincts. I'm with the 111. Kathy?
I am Kathy Welch. I am the precinct chairman of 421.
That's right. So the reason we were urged to do this today was for the very reason that we are the republic for which it stands, and everyone deserves a voice. Okay? And whether we want to agree with what occurred in our county with you guys when it came to y'all reaching out for your voice to be heard. Mm-hmm. It's just, to me, it's bothersome because, you know, there was an endorsement that was made out of your seat. You know, I won't name any names, but there was one out there. And Kathy and I and the other precinct chairs, we did our homework. We asked the other precinct chairs, you know, did you give a vote? Did we not know about something? And we just want to give you guys an opportunity to have a voice, because as precinct chairs, we owe it to our constituents in our precinct to let them hear what you have to say. Mm-hmm. You know, and so I really appreciate you guys coming out today. You guys have been attending a lot of forums, a lot of meetings. I know that you guys are probably so gassed, but hey, it comes with the territory, I suppose. So Mr. Prescott, we have today, and also Mr. Perez. So I appreciate you guys coming out. And I would love to give you guys just a moment to introduce yourselves to the folks out there that will be watching this. Mm-hmm. 30 seconds to a minute. Go for it.
Go ahead, sir. After you, sir. Go ahead.
Nune Perez. 5 years. I did 6 years in the Navy. I'm actually from the South Plains of Texas, living in Amarillo for over 3 years now. I work at CK Foods. Was quality assurance, now working over at sanitation. A lot of background in building facilities ground up. CK Foods is actually my third facility I built from the ground up. Previous city that I was in was Littlefield, Texas, where we built a dairy facility that actually helped revitalize the city that originally only had one employer, which was a denim mill. So we rebuilt that denim mill into a dairy facility. So my biggest thing is I look at it is we have a lot of Band-Aid fixes here in Amarillo, and I want to make sure that we get away from that concept and working with everyone here and listening to the people, understanding that it is the people that we have to go to. Those are the people we answer to.
Thank you. Mr. Prescott?
Thank you for having me this morning or this afternoon. I came to Amarillo in 1990 to attend school at West Texas State University at the time. It wasn't WTAMU yet. Was successful in getting a degree in environmental science and biology in 1995. Shortly thereafter, I started a company called Talent LPE. We're a regional environmental consulting, drilling, and engineering firm that specializes in wastewater, groundwater, and soil remediation throughout Texas, Oklahoma, Colorado, and New Mexico. That's where our clients are. We have offices throughout the state. In 2007, I went back to school at WT and got an MBA in general business because the business was very successful and taking off. In late 2019, I guess, or 2018, I finished up an MS in environmental science, and I'm right now finishing up the last coursework in a PhD in agricultural science, which is a systems approach to how soil, groundwater, and all natural things work together. And it's been a very challenging but very rewarding piece of education that I've achieved. So being an environmental scientist and geologist, a professional geologist for the last 30 years, it's given me a unique perspective on the issues that we have in the city with the infrastructure problems that are really paramount. We have to take a hard look, and you've heard a lot of folks say it, infrastructure. I'm very proud that my campaign started that, looking at these wastewater treatment plants. And yes, we had looked at some preliminary things, but not with the urgency we are looking at them right now. I believe that our greatest years are ahead of us in Amarillo. We need to take care of these infrastructure issues. We're not going to be able to focus on shiny things. We're going to have to do it with the most fiscal responsibility we can. When we hear a price tag of north of $800 million to get the Hollywood Road wastewater treatment plant fixed, we're going to have to find every grant. We're going to have to find every avenue of financial security we can to get these projects done. Unfortunately, we're not even talking about River Road. Unfortunately, we're not even talking about getting the Roberts County water that we have, our water rights into the city. And so we have a lot of large costs. But I want to be clear about one thing. I am not the tax man, as many people might have seen yesterday in the mailer. I absolutely hate taxes. I know taxes are needed to move a city forward, but I would never support a 39% tax increase, and those are just blatant lies.
Thank you, Mr. Prescott. Thank you, Mr. Perez. So, at Conservatives of Texas, and also from my particular precinct, I think I can speak for yours as well. We are very, very valiant, try to be at least very, very valiant stewards of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. And so I want to open up with the scripture here to kind of, my pastor this afternoon, he did make mention of this particular scripture. That's where I got it from, was from him years ago. So let me read this to you guys. It says here, it's in Exodus 18, okay, verse 21. Moreover, you shall select from all the people able men, such as fear God, men of truth, hating covetousness, and place such over them to be rulers of thousands, rulers of hundreds, rulers of fifties, and rulers of tens. With that being said, what do y'all think about that type of advice? Does that resonate with either one of you guys? And what we'll do, we'll switch off. You went first last time, so you can go first.
Absolutely does. Very early on in the campaign, individuals asked me, why are you running for this? And trying to vet me as a candidate. If an individual has not proven themselves in the last 30 years, as I have in my life, in many nonprofit organizations, being appointed by Governor Perry, Governor Abbott to chair the board of professional geologists in the state of Texas, the human health component of that. If we don't have track records as men going into this, what is our integrity? What is our track record? What have we done as men throughout our lives? If you're trying to invent that right now, as you become in the spotlight as a I hate the word politician, but as you start running a political career, if you don't have that defined and know who you are 100% absolutely, then I think you're a ship without a rudder. I think you're in a raft without a paddle. If the Lord is if you're going to govern, and if you're going to manage resources of the people, if you're going to be a steward of taking care of the folks that don't know what's going on, you have to have the Lord help you get that mission. It is 100% valid. If it's 10 people, if you can manage 10 people right, then you get, the Lord will give you a chance to manage 50. If you can manage 50 right, the Lord will give you a chance for 1,000. And as you look at that with our companies and our positions that we do with nonprofit boards, and just being able to speak and have the support of the community, that is a very valid scripture. And that is what we need to be looking at. And when we have deception and lies that are constantly tearing us down, that's the devil working against us. That is trying to make folks that have been chosen to do something, win or lose. We've thrown our name in the hat, and we want to make Amarillo better. That is our goal. We want to make humanity better. And I agree, Amarillo's best years are ahead of us. Do we have some heavy lifting to do right now? Absolutely. We've got to get our foundation and our base and our house in order so we can realize that as we move forward. I love the scripture.
Thank you. Nune?
Yeah, no, I have to agree wholeheartedly with the scripture. I think at the basis of the scripture, something I'm trying to maintain is how faith-centered that we should be as a person, as a representative of the people. And when that comes to mind, we have to take care of our fellow man. Simple as that. Leading the groups, is developing groups. understanding where we're from, what we do, and why we do it. You know, it's really an honor. It's a humble task that we've thrown our names in the hat. It's a very humble request that we put into it. I mean, we don't expect anything back besides being able to represent and push that future that we see, that we know, all of us know what our future is here in Amarillo. It is growth.
Mm-hmm.
We have to be able to develop that correctly and fiscally responsibly as well. And understanding that, but we also have to understand the basis of the platform, as it were, of where we come from, and that's within our faith and the strength that we get there. And yeah, one thing that we can attest to right now. I mean, it is a slugfest,
and bare knuckle.
Not even just in our seat per se,
Mm-hmm.
just about every seat in the entire race, and it's the devil at work. I mean, you can see it. I mean, there's more put behind the money and the gold than there is anything, the substance of the man that's running. You have all of us, I think, have the qualities of leadership that we need to have, but unfortunately, we have so much mud that's being thrown out of our control that we can't. It's hard enough to shake that off. And,
Yes,
you know, that's the one thing about the devil. He throws up smokes and mirrors and throws you a lot of shiny things.
The great deceiver.
Yeah.
I don't think you and I've had any negative.
No,
Not that I know. I
I've
mean, we
tried
don't
to-
know. I mean, yeah,
Yeah, I don't even know. But
I don't know what the packs send out, but you know, I mean, I know that I haven't seen anything.
I don't
mean,
think so
gosh,
either.
as dirty as it's been, it's unbelievable.
I think that's the benefit of me being a dark horse.
No, I think it's the benefit of us not.
But then again, I think it's a concept, because I mean, even when we first met, it was one of the first things we discussed as the three of us. We had, this is going to be as clean as possible from our perspective.
Yes.
We should respect each other, what we're coming from, where we're going, what we're going to go through, because it is
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Mhm.
When I first talked to Tom, when I introduced myself to Tom on this same topic, I said, Tom, at the end of the day, if I see you and your wife at Hofbrau, I want to come up, shake your hand. We'll maybe get a side hug in there, and then we need to argue while our wives laugh about us, argue about who's going to buy dinner. And Tom made a very important comment to me, and I really didn't realize what it was. He says, I'm not going to send anything out, but I can't control the packs.
Mhm.
And I was like, what does that mean? And naive and going into a campaign green, I am clearly aligned with what PACs do now, and that there is no defense against lies. And I'm not saying Tom, I'm saying the PACs.
Yes. I have a little tiny follow-up on the scripture reference there. And I need as much specifics as you can muster here, but what guardrails will guide you to keep you on this righteous path? Because I can tell you without hesitation that all 5 of the current members of the city council, including the mayor, all claim to be driven by the Lord. And
Mhm.
I think that's clearly not necessarily true, certainly not 100% of the time.
Right.
So what is going to keep you on the righteous path?
From my standpoint, I am a practicing Catholic. I really talk to my father quite a bit, and he keeps me on my path rather quickly. I don't hide anything. I don't sugarcoat anything. I'm very straightforward. And when it comes to being righteous and genuine, that's where you have to be. And you have to have that self-integrity, that self-reliance.
Mhm.
When it comes, every decision I make in life is based off of that good book and that study of that good book and what lessons we've learned to ensure that we don't repeat the bad lessons. And that's what really keeps me. Those are my guide rails, as it were, to keep me on that path. And of course, my 8-year-old daughter.
Mhm.
I mean, I have to set the example for her, and because she's our future,
Mhm.
like many others, even those in the womb are our future. And we have to ensure that their safety and security for the future is there.
Kathy, that's a great question. I mean, does power corrupt? Does power cause mission drift? Does what's the end goal? I've been successful in my business. I believe in Maslow's hierarchy. Self-actualization is the top of that pyramid. When you are able to give back, when you are able to make your community better, and you can see from my track record that I've been in many organizations, ultimately chaired or been the president of those organizations that have moved the needle. Again, if we don't know who we are going into this, is a lot of mission drift and there's a lot of trails you could take. I don't know anybody, anything. My clients, my business is very established. And so there is not anyone that has a magnet on me that is pulling me in one direction or the other. My mission 100% is to make Amarillo the best it can be. Fiscally responsible, take care of the infrastructure, and move forward. It is not that I want to end up in DC ultimately. If God blessed me and said, hey, maybe someday you need to be the mayor, or I'm led that direction, but I think I need to just get my season done. There's a very good story. Cincinnatus was a Roman general, and Cincinnati, Ohio is named after it. We've all seen the movie Gladiator. Cincinnatus was a farmer. Cincinnatus was an excellent tactician. He was an excellent leader of humans and men, and the emperor at the time recruited him to help him defeat, an enemy at that time. I think it was in Gaul. Anyways, he was very successful in that mission. He comes back to Rome. He's temporarily placed in a high position in the Senate while there's a lot of things going on that are very nasty. All of that gets settled. Everybody wants Cincinnatus to become the emperor. Cincinnatus says, my time is done here. I'm going back to be a farmer. David Prescott at the end of this, which I'm not a farmer, but David Prescott ultimately wants to go back and teach while I'm getting the PhD. And I am not a politician. I'm here to solve a specific skill set of issues that I have the knowledge to take care of. 100%.
Thank you. So when we're dealing with a budget, and you have Amarillo, Texas, 200,000 people, right? I kind of liken it to a small school that's recruiting what's available. And you got to make the best of what you have. And so in a city our size, it's interesting. What type of skill set do you guys offer with what we have with, our limited budget? We're at $499 right now.
Mm-hmm.
In 10 years, it jumped up from $326 to $499.
In 10 years, right?
Yeah, we've only added 2,000 citizens, because at that time we were at 198,000. That comes out to about 80,000 for each new citizen. So what do you have to offer? Because I've always said to myself, the person that can do the most with the least, that's my guy. With the budget being what it is, you approve it, you have that apparatus. What can you offer? What can you provide to us as the taxpayer to help us feel, confident that you know how to work those types of things with what you have? Because it is what it is. What if you get a flood? We had a horrible, situation just Friday night. And go.
No disrespect.
Go ahead.
No disrespect. I think I'm the only candidate, with the exception of the incumbents, that have worked on budgets that equal or close to $500 million, with the Amarillo Area Foundation and the Harrington Foundation. Hundreds of millions of dollars. I was the chair of that. Of course, working with the state of Texas on legislative appropriation requests with the Texas Board of Professional Geoscientists. Governor Abbott trusted me by naming me chair at that level. Many other organizations I've been responsible financially and mission directed. My own business. I mean, every year we set budgets, we look at them, not $500 million budgets, but very large budgets that are very complex. So going back to the question, please bring me back to the question with that. Tell me just what was the highlight of the question.
We have a number that's out there.
Right.
That we have to approve.
Right.
That's set. What do you have to offer with your experience to stay within that budget?
Right.
And to also, make sure that we're getting the best bang for our buck within that parameter.
I understand. Thank you. Thank you for bringing that back in. Two things that are very alarming about the question. We were at 10 years ago, we were at what?
326.
326. And so now we're at 500 million.
Mhm.
And we constantly hear that the current council has lowered taxes. I know, for instance, when I just received my property tax bill, there was no lowering in that bill at all. Anyone in Amarillo can go, that is a lie. Those dollars are increasing, and they're increasing without representation and drastically. And
In the
so
last 10 years, the tax on this property has doubled,
doubled.
from
And-
5 to 10,000.
Yeah, and how can we sustain that and continue to be told your taxes are going down, but in all reality, we just heard that they're going up this much, and that is a huge headwind against the citizens of this city. That headwind is affecting everyone because and that affects business, which business affects our sales tax, which in fact it impacts everything. So going back to what you said. How do we do that? We have to be fiduciarily responsible. We have to be transparent. We can't say that we're lowering taxes when the reality is taxes are going up. And if we have to take care of some of these infrastructure issues, we've got to take care of them with the best way we can, because it's not fair to burden a single mother or an elderly couple or anyone who are on fixed income. But the reality is we do have to figure out some way to meet the requirements of the EPA to make sure that our wastewater and our infrastructure is running. Why is the entire city almost being built entirely outside the loop? Why? Because you can put in a septic system and you can put in a water well. Why are we not building inside the loop? Because we barely have the capacity to take care of what we got right now, just like what you're seeing at Sisike. And we need to have some capacity. What if Bell comes in and wants to add a whole nother hangar and bring in another 1,000 jobs? What if Boeing comes? What if any large manufacturer that's really going to move the needle for our citizens wants to come here, and we have to tell them no because we can't take care of the wastewater because we were at a ceiling set by the EPA and the TCEQ. We have to be vigilant about that.
Well, no offense taken, by the way.
No,
Very respectful,
no,
very
no,
respectful. No, I very much respect that. When it comes to budgetary items being responsible, the way I look at it is, my perspective is a little different. My background is more in auditing. I look at the finite details as far as what has been allocated and has it actually been upkept. I find it interesting enough. I find it kind of interesting that current council has magically found $30 million from 2017.
Interesting is not the word I would use.
Being very polite.
Told no, not a discovery. Told no when you tried to add additional debt.
Yeah, it's like, okay, yeah, you were told no because there's this much that hasn't been used.
Yeah.
Which is kind of interesting. It kind of throws it to me. It's interesting because it also throws us off even when we're running in a race, because now it's like, we found this money for roads. We found this money for increases to fire and law enforcement. When it comes to this budget, I mean, half a billion, right? $500 million for a city this size is, I think, more than enough, responsibly, considering where we're at. And considering that I think there's more opportunity for other entities and other areas to actually help with this. Amarillo is a part of 2 counties. Those counties, where's their money going? How can they assist the city of Amarillo? The growth isn't just the city of Amarillo, it's the growth of those counties as well. We have to be able to build those partnerships as well. I mean, that's the way I look at it, at the very least, when it comes to being responsible and finding that, not using that money. As far as taxes, you talked about property taxes. I think last year, I remember whenever me and my wife were actually discussing this the other day, we talked about the taxes from the state of Texas, property taxes being dropped. You were going to get an extra, 100,000, 200,000 on there. Well, it's interesting that the appraisal district ended up increasing taxes to counterbalance that percentage. So it's like, but there's no oversight.
Yeah.
Where's the oversight for that?
Yeah.
So there's no way to answer that. And that it's very interesting. So when you look at fiscal responsibility, that's the way I look at it, is finding the details and actually cutting the fat in the fact that the city is manager is supposed to oversee these departments. And when you look at it, those departments, if they're not using their funds correctly, then the city manager holds the responsibility, and it's up to the council member to actually to hold them responsible. Say, hey, listen, are you being responsible managing your departments heads? Are they being responsible in turn to their individual departments? And it doesn't take long. I mean, if we're being approached by citizens or even community workers that they're not even being heard, or they're spending X amount of dollars on this and it's not working, we have a problem. There's just an issue at that point, and that comes back to that management.
Sure. Yeah, I think that something I'd like to add on that. It's really a tale of 2 cities in one. You've got Potter County that has a median, dual income, I think, of 50,000. Randall County, we have a dual median income of 80,000. And we see this disparity occurring within a, how far are we from I-40? We're only 2 miles away, and you're seeing this disparity. But I think going back to what Nune said, what we both believe is that accountability is the key. We have a city manager that has been hired by the current council, more than capable. Give him the power to run this. Get Herb Kelleher, Southwest Airlines. You probably heard me say it. Get the best equipment, get the best people, train them, get out of the way. Governance, trust but verify. Make sure things are going well. But you don't need to have your thumb on every piece of the action. We have so many individuals in the city right now that are so competent and know the answers. Let them run, let them do it, and establish accountability. When we were at the deal the other night, those people are saying, gosh, people are getting fired every week. Nobody's given us the authority. Nobody's given us the power. And then we look straight up at when we go to the wastewater treatment plant, and you've got individuals working 60, 70 hours a week right now to try to keep that thing together. Those are the heroes that are holding the city. Does David Prescott know how to fix that engine that's been there since 1960? Absolutely not. Do I know this or that? No, that's those guys' job. But we give them the resources, we give them the support, and that's how any successful organization works.
In my business, we have a phrase: inspect what you expect.
Right.
So I do agree with premise, but we as citizens, as voters, we hold our electeds responsible. And the city manager works for y'all and by extension for us. And he's a new guy, and I get it. But I that's one thing that I don't begrudge the city spending money on, is getting rid of that other guy.
Right.
He's the one that hid that $37 million from us. Most likely. That's an assumption. Anyways, it's a pretty good one. But that I agree with the premise. As long as somebody is keeping an eye, I think the chain of command in Amarillo is very convoluted.
Yes.
I think there's way too many upper management people, and there's way too many layers. I have a problem with the fact that child molesters are ending up with custody of their victims. That's a problem for me. Now, you didn't do that, but the cops may or may not have done something, or a city attorney may or may not have done something, or whatever. But there's no clear lines of, like, an org chart. I'm sure there is such a thing as an org chart. Does anybody follow it? Does anybody understand it? And are there too many layers of it? That's just
only
a lot of bloat.
Only org chart I've seen is Operation Emergency Management. It's one that I'm used to.
And those are things that need to be looked at. I mean, and as two non-incumbents going into this is drinking from 10 fire hoses, trying to digest these departments and these different things. But going back to accountability, and not because our budget's $500 million and not because there's 11 department heads, what can we do to consolidate that? How do we make this a lean operating machine, just like we do in both of our businesses? Where is there excess waste? And I think Nune was saying earlier is where is that incentive-based methodology where, okay, so you have $100,000 for X in a park, but yet it only costs 75. There should be an incentive-based program that 25 that was saved, not that you should spend it, because most in federal and state governments, and even probably into municipalities, it's a use it or lose it mentality, regardless of the outcome to us, the taxpayers, to us, the shareholders of the organization.
I did love that, Gunny, when you said it the other day. I don't remember which day it was, because I've been at several of y'all's events lately, but that was a very good thing. And another seat, he calls it zero-based budgeting.
Yeah, zero-based.
I'm not going to talk to you about what you spent last year. I need you to come and justify why you want this much
this year.
Yeah.
And have you done the homework, not just throwing just a rubber stamp number in there?
And DOGE is a very popular concept right now.
Right. As it should be.
What's going on in DC.
As it should be.
But yeah, go ahead.
So next, thank you guys for y'all's answer on that. And I want to clarify, none of these questions have been presented to you guys, correct?
Correct.
No.
Okay. I get the feeling sometimes some of these things are staged almost, but I want to ensure the listeners out there that these questions
I think that's why we enjoy the actual town hall
Yeah.
meetings.
Happened
'Cause
the other night. It
They're
was
not
great.
even.
Yeah,
They're not.
this is great.
They're all.
So,
And I would just put one little
Yeah.
caveat in there. I don't feel like everything that I've attended
uh,
has been as this is. I think
Right.
sometimes the questions have been leaked.
seems a little wild.
Yeah.
We'll say that much. So I want to speak about a possible idea of utilizing a check register. You know, we have had some things come up here in the last. I think some of it is political rhetoric, political maneuvering with the range and AEDC and all that stuff. But I'm not going to get into that. What I'm saying is this. Would you guys be okay with implementing a check register for us, the citizen? AISD has one. You can look at it month to month, line by line, just to kind of see how the money's being spent. When it comes to the AEDC, could that be something that's implemented, you know, to where we could have some, I don't like to throw the word around transparency because it's truly cliche nowadays. Just a line by line, something that we the taxpayers, because it's our money, right?
Right.
That percent sales tax is going in. Someone out there said it's on average about 17 million a year. I would like for us, the taxpayer, the ones that are putting that in, to be able to have some type of facility.
Mm-hmm.
Would you guys be okay with talking about that possibility in the future?
Yeah, I mean, the way, even at the very first minute, that's one thing that I've said. 100% of our budget should be 100% transparent to the community
Mhm.
because it's 100% of our taxes.
Sure.
So when it comes to a registry of any sort, there's easily ways to post those items and publish them. Even on our city website, I think even you just click it where we at for the month this time in the budget.
Sure.
I support it 100%.
Yeah, I mean it's
Yeah.
There's no reason. There's no
Why
reason
would
around
you
it.
not? The only reason you wouldn't want to do that is if you were trying to hide something. I mean, and also I support going into looking at our bidding process. I've had several local contractors and local folks approach me about how difficult it is for our city to do folks locally. And local people, you're not having the transportation costs coming out of Dallas or Houston or wherever these parts are coming from. And these are parts, let's say they're just service parts. Maybe they're just tires. Are we really looking at these bids the best way we should? Is it making it easier for the staff, or is the city saving money? And all of a sudden, if we see that a set of tires cost 3 times the industry average, what we can pick it up locally, there's a problem there. And that needs to be looked at. But I would 100% support a ledger, that showed what the spend was. And if it's vehicles, then you would have the ability to drill down and you could see unit X cost $2,700. Well, okay, unit X has 200,000 miles on it, and we had to replace this, and it gave us a lifespan of that. Well, was that the right decision as we would make in our businesses, or did we spend $75,000 for an AI assistant? Whoa, give me some better ROI on this. So I mean, and these are just generalities without any numbers, to substantiate that. But 100%, why can't we do that?
And what I think,
I mean, why wouldn't you?
and what I think we'll hear as a rebuttal is, well, we present these things, at our city meetings, put them on an agenda. But what we don't have is, did it really occur? You can have it as a presentation of $400,000 or $350,000 for bike racks. But I want to see some invoices.
Yeah.
I want to see that it was actually utilized for that project that you said.
Can we see the
I want to
actual?
see it.
Yeah.
I want to see the receipt. Is that so hard to?
You have to have the
I
proof.
think
The
that
proof.
should
The proof of the buy.
I would like to see it.
Yeah, in PDF form, we should have that line item, pay item, the check
Mhm.
with the receipt.
And that, we hear that all the time because the
no
line
difference.
item says we spent $350,000 on bike racks. Do y'all see $350,000 on the bike racks?
Well, that's not budgeted until 26.
Okay, well, I don't want them in the first place because how many bicycles are rolling around town?
Right.
That goes back to
Yeah.
senseless spending.
Right.
I think of how many drainage issues we can fix up in Pleasant Valley.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good start right there. That's a good start for that issue that we heard the other day.
I mean, there's a telephone pole. Just chain your bike to that telephone pole. Okay,
Yeah.
you don't have to have this fancy bike rack.
Okay, so next, and we only have 3 more questions.
All right.
You guys can fill out. What are some of your budget goals? What's something that you would like to implement if you had the checkbook? What would be something that you would like to see our tax dollars go towards?
I'll start this one right now.
Yeah.
I know several folks have said 90, 120 days. I want to find out where the check is for Monty Jackson. We've been told that there's a $38 million check for Monty Jackson from the Corps of Engineers. We all heard the other night when I asked Tom Sherlin directly, Tom, has that check arrived? Tom said no. The city, if you ask the city manager and you ask the city CFO, we have not received that check. So how in the heck are we already starting this large scale assessment? Now we have a Kimley Horn contract, I think for about $3 million that the city has funded. But in all reality, we have not moved forward on any of the issues that we need with the wastewater treatment plant. Again, you've heard me say, if we had the funding right now, it would take up to 4 years to get this thing designed and do the assessment for not only Hollywood, but River Road. What is going to be the best deal? Is there a new plant going out on Sons? I don't know what that new plan looks like, but we have to start yesterday getting these plans formulated. So that would be a huge budget item for me. Let us get this done 4 years from today or election day to get the plans done. How many years is it going to take us to get the one plant built? It could be up to 5 years. What are the cost increases going to be as we see continued tariff costs? I mean, if we start out at an $800 million cost, this easily, with the inflationary rates that we're seeing on hard materials, steel, concrete, and just engineering services, this could go up 20%. We could be at a $1 billion project by the time we get this completed in 9 years. No ifs, ands, or buts. We have to focus on that to continue to move this city forward. Are there going to be a lot of other fires that occur? Not actual fires, but are there going to be things that pop up, roads that fail? My gosh, this is a living, breathing system, this city is. There's going to be tons of things. We've done a fantastic job, and I think current council's done a fantastic job of getting the firemen and the police taken care of. They needed that. My gosh, we couldn't keep anybody. It was a clear success. What about all the accountants at City Hall? What about all the diesel mechanics down at the service center? What about the guys with CDLs that are driving the trucks that are all getting under wages? I mean, any of our CDL guys can go to Midland right now and make double the money. How do we get everyone leveled out and make this city go forward? So there's going to be a lot of issues that are going to come up, but I think we have to. I know we have to take care of getting this wastewater treatment issue done, because it's a season of taking care of the foundation of our house. If we've got a crack in it, all hands on deck, get that crack fixed, and then we can start putting the shiny things up on the side, and we can start landscaping the front yard. But right now, we got to get the hard things fixed.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah. So, to be fair, I agree with David. The wastewater treatment facility, just knowing what we had to go through in my current position and job, just knowing that we're not ready for that expansion. Also understanding how much has Amarillo truly expanded population-wise. Are we ready for that another larger actual wastewater facility in the near future? Or are we just needing to actually build the ones that we have, repair the ones that we have, get them sustainable, and then actually give the time to actually plan and coordinate the next facility in line? You have to look at, when it comes to that facility, we also have to look at the position of that facility in relation to where the growth is going to be. Not just because it's an open pasture in this area that's cheaper.
Right.
You can't just do that, because then now you're going to be adding, I can attest, just have my church, we're putting in a new parking lot, and we looked at it and we're like, whoa, one budget was, $500,000, and now it's already up to $800,000 for parking lots.
That's unbelievable.
You have to look at, it costs. And then, that's the one thing you have. I don't think many people look at it or understand in the council, and maybe they're not really focused on it because they're finding money places. But you look at the fact that everything increases a percentage. You're either going to pay for it now, or you're going to pay 15 to 20% later. And that's how you have to look at it that way. You also have to look at
15 to 20% more money for the cost.
The base of that money,
that's going up as well.
Yeah, you have to look in the economy's there. It's just we have to look at where we're investing that money.
Mhm.
And we have to really look at focusing also taking care of what past councils have neglected. Those areas and neighborhoods up north. You look at it, I mean, they should not have wooden pipes, for crying out loud.
No.
That's just horrendous. And then there's the drainage systems. I mean, just being up there, there's a reason why, unfortunately, AISD has had to actually start making school closing calls and those things because, well, the community is getting dwindling because they're not being supported by the city as they should have been. There's that support that needs to be there. We have to show that support to them as well. They are also part of the tax base. Unfortunately, Potter County, you look at it, they're actually making tough decisions because of the fact that they can't. They're either having a choice between paying taxes or putting food on the table, and they're choosing to put food on their table,
Which they should.
Which that's God bless them. That's what they should be doing.
Mm-hmm.
But we should never put anyone in that position. We should look at why are they having to make that decision?
Mhm.
Why are we not investing here? You can look at the historical background even on the boulevard. It's a sight for sore eyes of a historical significance that road has,
Mhm.
but it is not upkept. You have graffiti everywhere. You got buildings being torn down. You got growth, grass, and weeds everywhere. We had one town hall. We had ladies talking to us about alleyways that had weeds the size of trees in their alleyways. And they say, "Oh, it's not the city," but it actually is a city responsibility.
Yeah.
But even knowing, and I think it comes back to is, as you said, you get police and fire raises are always great. I was a volunteer fireman for the city of Canyon. Didn't get much pay there. Got a lot of good water though.
Yeah.
Got to play with fire hoses. You know, and being law enforcement as well. It is always a great thing. When you look at we also have to look at, we have a lot of people moving to other big cities for salaries when it comes to those particular jobs. But you also have to look at what exactly is impacting those larger cities. We're not a Dallas-Fort Worth. We're not.
We don't want to be.
Yeah, exactly. Amarillo's, we're Amarillians. We're very proud people.
Mm-hmm.
We are country ranch people. I mean, that's just who we are. We take care of ourselves. We don't want anybody else bothering us. The reason we're here. We can't aspire to be a Dallas. We're not going to have skyscrapers. I mean, as many tornadoes as land in this area, we probably shouldn't. We try to avoid stuff like that. But we can't even keep the large buildings here taken care of. I mean, we talked about the Ambassador Hotel. How long has that been fenced up?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's been a
What's
while.
going on
Been
there?
a long time.
And talk about all the homeless problems and everything.
Oh wow. Yeah.
When it comes to the homeless, I mean, you look at it. I take a little bit more effect to the homeless. One being a child of the homeless, go bouncing around from house to house, and all my entire family in a little bitty town. But then on top of that, also seeing my fellow brothers and sisters that served in the military that are also homeless.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting enough, sometimes the homeless they're also very proud people.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want that. They don't want the lens on them. They don't want to be a chip for the vote.
Yeah.
And that's something we have to look at as well. It's like, I've always been taught to help, but not be seen.
Sure.
And that's true humbleness.
That is humbleness.
And that's just the way I've always been. And I think that's an aspect that's missing. A lot of people are very proud about helping, but don't be seen about it.
Yeah. I'll let your right hand know what your left hand is.
Yeah. When you look at the homeless population in Amarillo, it's very concerning. I've got a brother-in-law that's in that spot.
Mhm.
And when addiction and anxiety and so many other things come into play, and you go to Centacor and you go through rehab so you can get your next job. But at that point, you've lost everything. When you're on the street, you've lost everything. You don't have any transportation to get to work. You don't have the ability battling depression and anxiety is a hard enough demon, let alone doing it cold and hungry and on the street. And the only thing you can turn to is more drugs or alcohol or selling plasma to get these things. I don't think anybody wants to be homeless. I think it's just a disease, and it's just a downward spiral. How do you get from the north side of Amarillo to a job in the south side? Even though you're clean and all of that, it just is constantly compounding on itself. So transportation for the homeless, not just giving them shelter or giving them food, but how do we really get them reintegrated back into society? I know Transformation Park is a piece of that. I mean, Bay City Mission, they do great work, but again, I think what Nune just said, these folks are prideful too. They don't want to go to these facilities. And if you're drinking, sometimes most of them you can't get into. If you show up drunk, you can't get into the facilities at night. So we just constantly have this downward spiral. And transportation to me is for the homeless, being able to get them to the jobs. I mean, we're doing a good job of keeping them out of the cold weather if they qualify to get in. We're keeping them fed, but are we just continuing to feed the cycle? Or are we really breaking the cycle? And I think so. Those are some of the things that we've got to look at.
The old adage, give a man a fish or teach him to fish.
So
Exactly.
teach him how to bake or give him a loaf of bread. Same thing, right? 100% right there. That's great, Kathy.
So Friday, you guys attended I guess we'll call it a Community Connect town hall there in Pleasant Valley. Amarillo Independent School District is just that independent. All the school districts are independent from, some connects to what the city has purview over. Realistically, what could have been done, in your opinion, when it comes to a vision? Because the chatter I've heard is that they knew kind of about this 2 years ago. So I asked myself, what could the city have really done if it's Amarillo Independent School District? And the only thing I could come up with was just, trying to have a vision to make that community attractive for families moving in, since the issue was, low and low. I mean, what could the city really do when it comes to these school closures? We have Park Hills, we have Sunrise, and Pleasant Valley. What could you have done if you were sitting there? Because when you lose a school, that's the heartbeat of a community.
It is.
I mean, how are you going to attract? And to me, it's only going to get more dilapidated if no one's moving in, and it's very concerning. So what could the city do or have done, in your opinion?
Well, I think when it comes down to the city, I mean, it's, as you said, AISD is independent, so it's not really, there's nothing the city council can really enforce directly to them. But when you look at it, you look at certain things, certain engines, certain groups, say like probably even the AEDC, for instance, you could probably use as innovation for businesses that are moving in. How are you marketing these future homeowners that are coming for other businesses? How are you marketing homes for them to actually bring their families to?
Sure.
Because there are businesses that will do that. I know we did it at Cacique. We brought people from California. Like, you know what? These are the districts and neighborhoods you'd like to be. How are we pushing that? How are we incentivizing that?
Sure.
I don't know the details of that particular program, but we have to be able to incentivize those kinds of things. And you look at it, it's unfortunate. Like I said, Pleasant Valley is very unfortunate. It really is. I mean, Sunrise, like I said, my sister is a teacher for Canyon ISD. Although she lives in the Sunrise, right there by Sunrise Elementary. And that the community just between those three areas, you look at the community itself, it's not upkept. The city is just, it's like a forgotten zone. It's unfortunate to say it that way, but it has been a forgotten zone.
So in a sense, what you're saying, if someone's looking to move here, they go into those communities and they see that these forgotten areas are so dilapidated, they're not going to move into that area.
No.
So therefore,
it's not a
residual effect.
Yeah, it's not a buyer. You have to make it presentable.
Yeah.
If we as a city are taking care of our part, the community will take care of their part.
Sure.
If we're engaged in ensuring that the alleyways are clear, the areas right by the sidewalks are clear, the easements are cleared, the owners of those properties will also do, hey, you know what? Well, at least the city's doing their part. Let me make sure my place looks clean, matches it up what we're looking at.
I have a little different theory on this. I think that, again, infrastructure, if we were supporting the infrastructure and we knew that the properties had good lines going into them. Now, the city water is excellent. The city drinking water is excellent. Yeah, but from an analytical standpoint, looking at the data composition, the chemical composition of the water, it's excellent. So as it comes out of the city lines and it goes down and it gets to the North Heights or Pleasant Valley, the mains are good. But when we kick off and we start going into the homes, are those lead lines. It's very similar to when we were all growing up and we would drink out of the garden hose in the middle of the summer. We always wanted to take the garden hose off and drink straight out of the faucet because we didn't want to drink that chemically vinyl chloride water that we got out of the garden hose that we drank so much. So is the new construction that is occurring, are there incentives to have developers build new homes in communities that are underserved right now? I mean, we know we have the disparity in median home pricing, like we talked about earlier, Potter and Randall County, two different things. What does a successful school look like right now? Why is Canyon and everything that's ringed Amarillo, why are they at max capacity and can't keep up? Why are there so many developments being built in those areas? Again, outside current infrastructure. If we're relying on current infrastructure north of town, then it's not going to make sense. I had a conversation, and I thought this was very poignant, with a lady in the North Heights, and she said, when anybody here, the families that have been in the North Heights for 2-3 generations, the second anybody there gets on with Pantex, where do they move? They move south. They move south. And why do they move south? Because the schools, because they don't have to worry about, they have newer infrastructure, they have newer lines of water. It's a safer spot, and it's a tragedy. But that is where that migration is occurring. And this is gentrification in the United States is not an Amarillo problem. This is a problem all over the country. What you've got to look at in Texas, we have a 7% compounded annual growth rate right now in terms of migration. Everybody's moving to Texas right now. Thank God for that. But Amarillo is holding very, very steady at a 1% growth. We should be seeing a 2 to 3% growth if we had the infrastructure in place to take care of it. Now we're seeing great growth. I mean, I can't wait to see what the next census numbers are.
Sure.
You know, I bet we're 225, 230, somewhere in there. We don't even know what that is going to look like. But the communities, there was a great question the other night. How are we going to get ports to plains, and how is Pleasant Valley going to be impacted by ports to plains? Does Pleasant Valley want to be impacted by ports to plains? What does that community want? Because we're all sitting up there thinking they want curbs and gutters, and it was a resounding no that we don't want any curbs and gutters.
Curbs and sidewalks.
No, sidewalks.
Sidewalks.
Yeah. I mean, we don't want
sidewalks.
because it's going to mess our yards up and our trees. And so communities have to take care. I mean, there was another really interesting question that it took some amount of time for an animal that had been run over to be picked up by the city. Go get a shovel. We've got to take care of our own communities. If there's a dead animal in front of my house, I'm going to go get a shovel and go throw it there because I don't want the flies. I mean, we have to take care. And then once those communities understand what they want to be and what they want to do, then the city can help and move it forward. And that was the finest event that I had been to. It was that community is on fire, and I was so proud to be able to sit there. But if we don't take care of the infrastructure is going to bring the homes in. Yeah. The homes are going to bring the families in. The families are going to have children. The children are going to need to go to schools. And then the AISD is going to be able to make a decision because they're in the same boat we are. How do you be fiscally responsible? And if there's not enough kids there, then they have to do something.
I think heard that they're leaving it open.
Yes. Yeah. So
and I want to find out more on that because I just don't understand if you're going to keep everything going with janitorial services, security, you're going to keep all the utilities on. I mean, then why get rid of it? So I think there's some additional investigation that needs to be. Not saying anyone is fabricating anything, but I really want to understand what that means because that doesn't make sense. So somewhere in the equation that makes sense.
I think that's the biggest. I think the biggest issue there is the fact that you look at it. I think all three are A-rated schools.
Yeah,
correct.
Yeah, that's what we were told.
And they're moving to an F-rated,
and then they're going to F. And it is. I was like, okay, come on.
But they have the data, and we don't.
And you look at CISD. I mean, luckily, I'm a president of the PTA for City View area. City View Elementary, and we look at it as like, you know what, CISD, they look at it differently, and I think it comes to management. Unfortunately, AISD isn't the same thing. It comes back to the management, and the CISD, the way they looked at the growth, they looked at where's growing, where they're growing. And granted, Canyon ISD school district is rather huge, but what they end up doing is they actually redraw the lines for attendance to ensure that they're
We talked about this the other night, yeah.
optimizing the actual schools
Right.
that they have. Not building brand new schools unless they have to. Optimizing what you have, the resources you have. Once you get to a certain percentage of actual population in that particular, okay, now we need to look at building.
What did
another
we hear
facility.
that one of the communities, one of the new developments is literally 1 mile from Pleasant Valley, but yet the kids all go and there's
The
a deed
vineyards.
restriction
Vineyards.
goes
The
all the
vineyards
way
right
out
across
to
the street.
Days of Vala,
Yeah.
5 miles away versus,
Right.
and I know when I grew up, I mean, you'd have best friends that you'd live on two sides of the street and they would
Mhm.
end up going to a different junior high than you did because it made sense.
Yeah.
You know, it made economic sense.
Yeah,
Mhm.
sure.
And they have, I mean, and this is vote for your AISD guys right now
Yeah.
to get them. I mean, that vote's just as important
Yeah.
as our vote we have now. So I would support, I'm not saying who I'm supporting, but my gosh, get out and vote and do some homework because that's just as important of an election.
It's very,
As
very
any of them.
important.
Yeah.
Understanding who those candidates are, especially in the AISD.
And this is tangent to another really hot topic. And I would be willing to bet this is pure supposition. And if it's not accurate, it's certainly the perception.
Mhm.
75%, I'll be shocked if it's far off. 75% of all discretionary resources are in the southwest quadrant of the city.
In terms of City of Amarillo.
Yeah. I mean, the lawn mowing people, the pothole fixers, the animal control, certainly the police officers.
Mm-hmm.
You can't go 10 minutes without seeing a police officer here at 45th and Western.
Right.
They're here all the time. I love it. I don't want them anywhere else.
Yeah,
but,
like so.
but that's because I'm here.
To
Right.
be
What about the Northeast?
and to be fair, the other day I actually drove around Pleasant Valley, the Heights, and the Boulevard. I drove around for like 2.5, 3 hours. 2 patrol units. That's all I came across.
No.
Now I saw the EMS at Toot and Totem because I usually see them parked up there. That's where they pre-stage themselves.
Yeah.
But that's another thing I look at is you look at there's actually police substations down here on the south side
Sure.
of Amarillo. I don't see one in North Amarillo.
Right.
Kathy, that's a great question that should be asked, and there should be a report out. Where are the resources? I can't substantiate it, yes or no.
Yeah.
But what good data to provide for the 4 quadrants of this city, and
No,
say, hey, this is what's going. Let's
And
dive into
EMS
that a little deeper.
It's private.
Correct. Yes.
EMS is private.
AMR is a private
Mhm.
private company. I know that just because.
But we know their response times. We can get their response times because
Oh
they
yeah,
have
I'm
to
just saying
report
that,
it.
that they
Yeah,
are
they're-
managing from a business perspective.
Mhm.
I need to be close in order to do my job.
Right.
And the city, and I go back to what I've been telling you guys at all the events, because the big donors are down here
Mm-hmm.
and they're not up there.
Right.
That is the bottom line. Bottom line.
So,
When you look at it, you can look at when it comes to policing. I mean, that's something that I know no expert, and I don't think any police officer will ever say they are an expert because it's an ever changing field.
I think run from anybody who says they're an expert, right?
Yeah. Just discount it. If they say they're an expert, a complete expert, and they know in totality this is what it's you learn every day.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to policing, 85% of it is just visibility. And like I said, if I drove around for 2.5, 3 hours and only saw 2 law enforcement officers out there, that's to me that's the amount of population out there. And the way I look at it, it kind of hits me a little closer because that's where 40% of our population that is Hispanic, most of them live there. Now, and it's interesting enough because that's one of the very first things that even people from out of town or out of state, they're like, oh, we heard never never watch yourself when you go to the boulevard or go north. I was like, why?
I've been on the boulevard for 30 years.
Like,
I my business on
Yeah.
Viven Street.
Yeah, it's
Fantastic spot.
I don't know why we're not getting that support up there. There's more than enough ample spaces to do substations.
Yeah.
There's more than ample. You could even incentivize police officers, for living in certain areas.
and that check register I mentioned that, I applied the AEDC to, I'm not just talking about relegated to the AEDC only, full scale,
Mm-hmm.
line by line, how's our money being spent? Before we close, we're already come up to an hour really quick. I want to give Cassie an opportunity. If you have any questions, go for it, ask a question. And then after that, we will close, and I appreciate you guys coming out. Go ahead, Cassie.
You know I have questions,
Uh-oh.
but I'll limit it to one. What is your thoughts on the mud and the municipal utility districts and using that as a mechanism to facilitate housing and infrastructure
Or control it.
or control it?
Mhm.
So I'm just going to let you know I'm against it, but I'll let you, because I don't want to trick question you, but what do you guys think?
My answer is going to be very quick, and I know you're going to go, really, Prescott, you're going to have a quick answer. So I have not researched it enough to give an educated opinion.
So to let you know, myself and a few concerned citizens, asked the current council to roll it back, hold off on it until we can get informed, until they can educate us on it,
Right.
and they refused.
Okay. So we need to, for David Prescott, as in my position, I want to take a good hard look at it. I want to see where the wins have occurred with mud districts in other cities. I want to see where the losses have. I want to see if it fits for Amarillo. And if it doesn't or it does, at that moment, I have not put the time to educate. There's been so many things. I think I said earlier, it's been drinking from a fire hose.
Oh yeah.
And this seems to have been for me a recent topic of conversation where MUDS is the save all. It's going to get all these problems taken care of. And I have not researched it enough. And I'll be the first to tell you, if I don't know the answer, I don't know the answer, but I will look into it and I'll come up with an opinion on that. But I do not have an opinion and I have not researched enough to give you a fair answer.
Gotcha.
So mud is interesting. A lot of what was explained to us in the council meeting,
Right.
the one that I actually heard about it. There's a lot of information to it. I haven't really dove into it, but I want to. On the surface, there's some aspects to it that are like, okay, maybe that will work. But there's always something behind it. There's always a gotcha in certain projects like that or certain programs like that. And that's what we need the time, the citizens especially, need the time to actually kind of review, is it going to work for us here in Amarillo? A shiny ball looks shiny, but as soon as you break it, it could be nothing but slime in the middle of it.
Yeah.
And then why did you even break it?
I think that's one of our big problems is that they shoved it down our throats
We've
without
had
us being properly educated on it.
we've had a lot of things shoved down our throats
Yeah.
recently.
Yes.
And as we come into this, at the last council meeting before the election, how many things were rushed? And why were they rushed? Aren't we all? I mean,
That's the red flag.
That was a lot of
100%.
stuff. It's like, all right,
it's
come on now.
whoa.
What's going
You know,
on?
and are you that worried, or that what you're trying to do is not going to be favored if there is a different council in place? And then that is just political gamemanship. If you really care about, going back to your original question on the governance in the passage, if it's that important, why wasn't it taken care of months ago? Why do we need a clean house? It's like we're having a Christmas party and all the families coming and we're mowing the yard and we're painting the house and we're
Guilty.
yeah, we all are. But my goodness, so we're going to do this, and this, so we can make it look real shiny because we haven't done anything for the last 2 years. We're going to fix all these things, and we're going to get real busy on the wastewater treatment plant. Oh my gosh!
Fine, $37 million.
Yeah, we're gonna and we've been doing everything
there's,
great.
There's more to that 37 million. I mean, you look at it, the was it the housing department? There was embezzlements.
Yeah.
There was
Yeah.
embezzlements
That
in
was
there.
a few months ago.
Now, granted, we have annual audits for our finance department.
Yeah.
How are we not finding this stuff every year?
It's interesting.
Yeah.
So
Well, and one thing just in defense of that, I think we're 7 accountants short right now. We can't hire any because we don't have the same pay scale that accountants get anywhere else. So when you talk in that question I asked, why do we seem to be having these discrepancies? Because we're 5 accountants short right now, and a $500 million budget with all these departments trying to keep track of all these dollars, and they're horribly understaffed. That doesn't work. We got to get staffed
Let's
up.
has to
ask
be
Elon
staffed
Musk for some AI.
Yeah, there you go.
Not this Emma.
Not Emma, but some. Yeah.
I want to say something real quick on that. So the way the mud is working from the council meetings that I've attended, the tycoon, I call him the developer
Developer.
that fronts the money, basically has that property, that community, until 98% of it is paid back. Then at that point, you can choose to annex yourself and get back into the city.
Okay.
98%. Could that be a lifetime? And from what I understand, it takes a long time.
If you have a section of land and you're going to develop it out, that's
Yeah,
Well,
98%.
tens of years,
Well,
you know.
here's the issue that I've discovered is that it's more or less like a payday loan. You just can't ever get out of it.
Right.
And the research that I've done, this says that very rarely do they ever get out of that. It's you go in upside down. So, guys, thank y'all so much. I want to give you 1 or 2 minutes. How can people find out more about you, website, whatever? And why should you be David Prescott, Place 3 Council? And that goes for you to the same. So,
Well, thank you so much for having me, and it's been a fantastic. Really, this is what we need more of. We need to sit down and have conversations, real conversations, with real questions that aren't staged, and we can have real dialogue on what we're doing. Thank you for coming out on a Sunday and having a conversation with me. Why David Prescott? We're at a critical point in this city right now. I think that my skill set and my education, especially when it comes to wastewater and infrastructure problems, I don't think there's anybody else on the slate that can handle it with a degree of professionalism and a degree of leadership that I have to help the city through this. It's not a sexy time. It's not something that we want to do, but this problem has been kicked down the road way too long, and it is something that we have to address now. We've known since the early 90s. We've known since the early 2000s that this day was coming, and during this season, I'm the best candidate to take care of these issues. There's a lot of things going on in this city, and it scares me deeply that at a crossroads like we are, and the dollars being spent to tarnish several of us, and just the blatant lies. And I'm ready to get to work for Amarillo. I think our best days are ahead of us, and with your vote, I would love to have your vote. We have early voting on Monday and Tuesday from 7 to 7, I believe. And that's the only time we've had it after work. So you can go after work 5 to 7. And as a good friend of mine said, it's time to land this plane and it's time to get to work. So Amarillo, help me land this plane and let me be your next city councilman.
thank you, Mr. Prescott. Perez, thank you for coming out.
Oh, thank you for having me on Sunday. Definitely a pleasure sitting down with you. I always enjoy back and forth. No, these are the kinds of this is the true engagement of actually that's needed and rarely seen. And when it comes to how to get more information for me, Perez for Amarillo.com is probably one of the basic ones that I have. I do have a Facebook page as well. Why I think I'm the better candidate. One, my strongest endorsements are always you, the voter. Simple as that. I look at it as, there's that handshake, that meeting anywhere and everywhere, and just having candid conversations. That's one thing that I look at it as the best way to actually govern our city. And I definitely am a candidate that I don't plan on having just a meeting at City Hall. I plan on actually coming to the community itself, your location, your site, and meeting with you personally. Not everyone in the Amarillo city can actually make it to City Hall. We have to make ourselves available for the community, not the community available for us, is the way I look at it. That's why I think that I'm probably the better candidate. Another reason is, yo hablo español, entiendo mucho. 40%.
Talking about mine.
No, it's one of the biggest takebacks that I get. One reason why I'm running is the Hispanic community is a very sheltered community. They are very I'm going to say sheltered. They're very secure about who they talk to and who they communicate with.
Yeah.
Understanding is one of the biggest things, and that's one gap that I want to close, especially for the city of Amarillo, and set it up even for other candidates and other people to run for office. Understanding that part of the community and that part of the history of our community. And that's one reason why I think you.
Did it freeze on your end?
No.
Okay, so we're good. This is not on yours.
Can I say one more thing?
Yeah.
Nune reminded me, David Prescott for Amarillo. So I didn't answer the question exactly right. So thank you, sir. Yeah, man, thank you.
Hey, thank you, gentlemen.
You bet.
Oh, thank
Go
you.
spend the rest of the day with your family.
Thank you
for having us.
Appreciate you. Misty, stay right there. So, hey, I'm going to talk to you in a minute. So, y'all go enjoy y'all's day.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having us.
So
You're
much.
very welcome.
Let's keep moving forward, okay?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
All right, all
All
right.
right. Thank you so
So for
much.
coming.
I missed.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Good to see you.
Thank you.
So, come here, Kathy.
All right, see you.
Come on this side, Miss Kathy. All right, guys. So, Miss Kathy, come join me on camera real quick. So, we are Randall County Precinct Chairs 111 and 421. Yep. Thank you guys for tuning in. We're having Leif come in at 4, so that gives us some time to speak with one of our special guests. Donald Trump came in, and we are very excited to have him. I'm just kidding. Misty, do you mind getting on? I know that we didn't let you know, but would you like to speak a little bit?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Although I love being compared to Donald Trump,
You do.
but I think I'm cuter than he is.
Well, I agree. So, Misty, what are 2 things that you would like to have accomplished within your first? Let's be honest. It's a lot to do in less than 2 years because, it's a year and a half. And you're campaigning again if you decide to rerun after that. In a year and a half, what would you like to accomplish if you become mayor of the great city of Amarillo, Texas?
Well, I do have a platform. I have short-term goals and long-term goals.
Uh-huh.
But one thing I haven't heard any candidate say is really my main goal is I want to sit down with the citizens and I want to know what they want.
And what would you like to accomplish? What would you like to see accomplished? Just 2 things.
Well, I'd like to return the Constitution. I would like to return the city charter back to constitutional principles. I'd like to remove red tape so that we can build. It'll be easier for us to build in our community. And I do have a proposal for that.
Yep.
And then I want to get with the community and start to build groups and actually find out what the community is wanting
Sure.
and either eliminate the AEDC or reform it.
Okay.
And utilize the citizens to find out what Amarillo wants.
Yeah.
For so long, the corporation has decided what Amarillo wants, and that needs to stop.
Well, one thing we spoke of before you got here was having and implementing a check register for the AEDC so we can look at all the expenditures line by line and also just budgetary items coming out of City Hall itself. What are your thoughts on that? Would you like to at least see something like that?
They're going to have strong policy.
Yep.
If they don't have strong policy and they're not held accountable, then they're a bureaucratic entity and they are not for the people.
Sure.
And that's what's happened for the past however long we've had it.
Gotcha.
And it needs to stop.
Yep.
They need to stop lying to you and they need to show you where your money's at.
All right. So let me just tell you, are you ready for the tough question? This is just what came out in the last. This is what I hear, and I want you to be able to defend it, okay?
Okay.
Some folks have rudely made silly little, I guess, statements as if there's not a third candidate. There is a third candidate. It's Misty Collier, right?
Yeah.
So what's been said out there is you don't have the experience, right? So what can you say? Because I know what I've said. I mean, did anybody have the experience? I mean, everyone goes in there and they learn, and they they'll all tell you they're not the experts. So what do you say in response to that being kicked around? And I've seen it on Facebook here and there, whatever. And I have my thoughts on it. I think that everybody with the city manager, everyone can work together and do all what they need to do. But what do you say?
I have just as much experience as Jason Oracle.
Yeah.
In fact, we're very similar in our knowledge of business and even education.
Right.
People like money. They like big suits. They like fame. They pick Mr. Popular. That's fine. If you don't want change, vote for the guy you've normally voted for. If you really want change and you really want someone that cares about you, because I do, you'll vote for me.
Right. There was a guy that ran several presidential elections back, I want to say about 10 or 12 years ago. His name was Herman Cain. He was the founder of Godfather's Pizza. And when it came to the presidential race, they asked him, you're a pizza guy. Can you really run a country? You have all these other folks, Harvard, Yale, Princeton, And he says, yeah, how's that been working for you so far?
Yeah.
I thought that was an excellent answer. And I think that folks that need to look at you should ask that same question. All these guys, all these others that have had the experience, here, there, and the other, how's it been working for you so far? How's it been working for you so far? Yep. So thank you, Misty, for coming on for a little bit. I know that you didn't expect it. This was a pleasant surprise. So thank you. Are you going out block walking?
Yes.
All right.
And I'll be standing at the polls next week.
All right. Well, thank you for being so courageous and getting out and fighting the good fight. That's what this country was built on.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. The underdog, that's where it's at. The
And-
republic for which it stands.
And we wanted to make a point of reminding the viewers that you were not afforded the opportunity to talk by our chairman of the Randall County Republican Party.
We could hear you when you said that last time.
Yeah.
Good.
I'd like to tell. Can I tell you a story real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, one day I was sitting at a donut stop, and me and my it was my daughter and her friend. We were playing this Bible game,
Sure.
and I'm messing around with them because I'm like finishing the scriptures before they're ever like getting to the end of the question, and it's like multiple choice, Anyways, we're having fun, and then my daughter's like, I don't know him as well as you. And then my daughter's like, stop, Mom, stop, let me win some. So then I'm like over here like charading her, trying to get her to know the scriptures and stuff. Anyways, we were having a good time. So I get up and I walk to the other side of the room, and this man walks over to me and he shakes my hand and he's like, hi, I'm Kelly Giles. And I'm like, I'm Misty. He said, Misty Collier. I said, yeah. And we both walk off. And then I called him and I asked him, I said, is there any way I can interview with you? He says, yeah. And then Friday comes along and he's like, well, you didn't poll very well, so we're not going to interview you.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, in my opinion. Oh, did I tell you that he thanked me for teaching my children about the Bible or this? Oh, okay.
not here.
So when he came up to me, he's thanking me for teaching my children about scripture and stuff. So he knows my character. That's my whole point.
Yeah.
This man knows my character. He knows who I am. And still no interview. It's just disheartening. But anyways.
As a Republican, and you mentioned, Donald Trump earlier. When a Republican decides to run, even if it's nonpartisan, I mean, good gosh, sit down and talk with that person. I mean, he's proven that he can endorse other folks. Go that far.
The rest of us.
And I don't want to attack the man. I don't know what reasons he has, but here's the thing. That just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make a lick of sense. We've heard other things coming out of the office. No nonpartisan items are to be placed because it's nonpartisan. So why? Of course, I don't understand. But anyways, thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Y'all have a good day.
You too. All right, guys. So at 4:00, we're gonna jump back on. We're gonna have Leif Curtis. Thanks, y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in. Thanks, y'all. That's what I was gonna say.